So, if you could join me in the karakia, please. Waka te hau ki te uru, waka te hau ki te toka, kia ina ki uta, kia mā te he ake utura. Thank you. Our apologies. We have an apology from Deputy Mayor Foon. That is all. And if we could just... I'm moving the motion that we accept the apology, and Councillor Matthews has seconded. Can we just vote on that, please? Thank you. Our second...
Sorry, just waiting on a vote from Councillor Wineta online.
Nico, have you voted? No, yes. Oh, we can't wait. Okay, let's just close that vote and we'll move on to the next one, which is conflicts of interest declarations. Has nobody got any conflicts of interest? And we'll confirm the minutes of the last meeting. So can I move that motion? And Councillor Matthews will second it. Thank you. If you could vote on that one. Looks like everyone in the room has voted, so we'll...
Sorry, 3 chairs, just 3 councillors online waiting for their vote.
What's next after this? Okay, well, we'll close that vote now and move on to just to say that there were no items are not on the agenda, and there was no request for public participation today, so we can move straight on to the action. And this is the proposed road stopping at land exchange in Strathmore. And I think we've got a couple of who have got to talk about that. Sarah Jane is here to actually introduce it and explain it and answer any questions. But I note that none of you actually asked any questions prior to today's meeting, so I presume this isn't particularly controversial. So Sarah Jane, you can tell us what... No.
Morning, councillors. This is a proposed road stopping and land exchange under the Public Works Act. So we are proposing to stop and sell approximately 349 square metres of legal roadland in Ngātiapa Street, Strathmore Park, and sell that to Kāinga Ora for a redevelopment of their social housing at that street. In exchange, they will sell us to vest as roadland approximately 138 square metres. This is because part of the road that we're stopping is a cul-de-sac, and so we're going to recreate the turning head in the area that they vest. Kāinga Ora will be responsible for the costs of that recreation of the turning head, and they will also have to pay for the land as it is a larger area. It is a relatively straightforward PWA road stopping. One item that I should note is that the land that we are being invested in exchange is RFR land to Taranaki Whānui. KO are in talks with Taranaki Whānui about this, and in the Treaty Settlement Claims Act, there is a section that says under Section 104 of the Act that land can be vested in another entity for a public work, and road land is considered a public work. And should in the future, if we ever decide to stop and sell that land, those RFR obligations would fall on council. But otherwise, pretty straightforward and what you're used to seeing. So,
Any questions? Nope. Oh, Ray, got a...
Sorry, quick question. Have we negotiated a price for these?
Read the paper.
Yes, so we've had the land valued by a registered valuer, and Kaingoda have agreed to that land value. Yeah.
Is there any debate? Oh, sorry, I've got to move the motion. So I'll move the motion. Terry O'Neill would second it. Is there any debate? No. Anyone else want to say anything? No? In that case, I'll put the motion, which has been moved and seconded, and please push your buttons. That is passed. We'll move on to the second item on the agenda, which is the Water Services Bylaw Review. And I'd like to introduce Charlotte Hausler and Jeff, who are going to take us through it.
Kia ora, thank you. So this paper is a report back on the consultation on the draft Water Services Bylaw 2024. So on the 29th of February, the Council agreed to consult on the draft bylaw, which was developed following a review of the current bylaw, which found that most existing provisions should be retained, but some key updates were proposed in three key areas, one being to provide better protection for public water services infrastructure, the second to ensure better regional alignment, including updating the water restriction levels, and thirdly to reflect the establishment of the Water Services Act in Taumata Arawai. We worked with Wellington Water to develop that draft. Consultation was undertaken from mid-March to mid-April. We received 8 submissions, which were mostly in support of the draft bylaw. So the paper that you have today provides a report back on those submissions and also some recommended updates to the bylaw. And it seeks the committee's approval of the recommended changes and also a recommendation for the council to adopt the bylaw at the meeting tomorrow. So happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Randall.
Yes, 2 questions. First of all, I noticed that there was only one submitter that opposed it. Could you just briefly summarise why that submitter opposed this change?
The only information that was provided in that submission, there were a series of questions where they could indicate their level of support or opposition, and they selected that they strongly opposed all of those options. And then there was a comment that said that the council should stop wasting the ratepayers' time on this.
So they thought it wasn't important. Okay.
That was the only information we received.
And in terms of the changes that you made, that's based on submission feedback. Is that right?
Yes, mostly on submission feedback and also on a couple of areas where there could be better clarity, readability and that kind of thing, okay. But largely in response to the submissions.
Okay, thank you very much.
I've got one question actually, and this is on page 43 of the diligent papers. This is the chap who wrote the rather long explanation. He said, nothing in the legislation should make it impossible for a suitably qualified person to gain approval and or to do work that falls within their qualifications, even if it is on public infrastructure. So does this in any way, I mean, obviously there's been this issue around qualified plumbers being able to work on the network, but presumably this is a sort of just maintains the status quo, and it's up to Wellington Water in terms of how they actually interpret their rights and provide the authorisation. Is that right? I mean, obviously there's been a degree of disagreement with Wellington Water over how they've interpreted this particular right, but presumably this just maintains the status quo.
So the bylaw does require or prohibit access to the public water infrastructure unless you are an approved person. In terms of what that approved person, who that would be a Wellington Water function. Yeah.
Yeah, so they decide on who's approved. Yeah, okay. It's a shame we. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm happy to move the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Rogers. Is there any debate? Nope, no debate. So I would like to, and that has been moved and seconded, and if you could all vote on it now, that would be great. Thank you. That is passed. And we'll move on to the third topic, which is a request for extension to notification of decisions on the proposed district plan, which Sean Ordain is going to present. And I have to say, I found this one of the harder ones to understand myself. So, but I'm sure Sean will elucidate. And Michael, thank you.
Very good. So, as you'll be aware, the district plan was split into two tracks, the ISPP, or the fast track, and the Schedule 1, Part 1 process, which was the ordinary track. This paper concerns only the ordinary track, the fast track having concluded. Under the law, we have 2 years from the notification of the plan to complete its operation. This paper is asking for an extension so that commissioners can complete their work and the hearings can be held. There is one matter that I need to update that was in the paper that has been overtaken by events, which was when the report was drafted, there was still some question of how we would deal with the eco chapter. That's the chapter that contains significant natural areas. There has been a bill introduced to the House, and on analysing that bill, we have the certainty that we need to proceed, and so commissioners have ordered that to hearing, and that hearing will take place in September. That means that landowners with SNAs can have their submissions heard, or anybody who's submitted on SNAs can have those matters heard, and they be resolved. We do not plan to take the full 12 months. However, based on our experience with the ISPP, we believe it's best to ask for 12 months so that we don't risk falling into being overdue.
Thank you, Sean. That's very clear. Are there any questions? Councillor Free.
So just on the matter of SNAs, can you confirm that the SNAs that are still being considered are the ones in the rural part of Wellington?
Yes, so those are the SNAs that are in the rural and open space zones, and they're the ones that were notified as part of the plan.
So the SNAs that were originally proposed for urban areas are no longer under consideration?
There may be submissions for people asking for SNAs in urban areas, and the commissioners will have to consider those.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No, in that case, is there a mover for the motion? Councillor Matthews. Is there a seconder? Councillor. Yes, and by all means, you're welcome to speak.
Just very briefly, I want to thank the team for their work. That I think we have, we proceeded with urgency on the more, urgent and the streamlined process. So I'm relaxed about the extension for the outstanding areas of work. I guess to note that some of us had concerns about the process of the initial. Plan, and I guess I just want to kind of reflect that going forward, there is an issue with in terms of the whole kind of the process with commissioners and the limited pool of people who are available, and that I do, await kind of reform that is going to enable the sorts of changes that we made in the first part of the district plan. So thank you.
Anyone else got any?
Well, it seems we're in a post-truth environment. You know, and I've had problems with the RMA a number of times, but I'm happy with this paper. It has to be done properly with facts and good process and rigorous attention to protecting the environment, given it is under. We're facing catastrophe. We've got thousands of people now missing in Papua New Guinea, for example, due to landslides. We have done an inadequate job of protecting it, and I hope that this government will see sense and do proper reform of the Act to protect the environment and thus protect ourselves. And I just consider the changes that have been made over the last few years completely unacceptable. The public needs to be kept informed and have a role in participation, because sometimes the public knows better than the experts, been there a number of times, and we need good evidence and good facts, and that is what has been completely missing from some of these processes.
Thank you. Councillor Free?
Yeah, I actually endorse what Councillor Pannett's saying. Not always do I endorse it so wholeheartedly, but I do this time. I think that it's worth having decent process. In my time on council, one thing I've learned is you can't always rush process if you want good, enduring outcomes. So I support us approving this extension to allow a full process to occur without pressure.
Thank you. And, Councillor Calvert.
I concur with my colleagues, Councillor Free and Councillor Pannett, but I do urge everyone that when we employ commissioners, that we actually listen to them. They're the ones listening to all the submissions. They're the ones that are experts, and not override them like we've done in the past. So, and actually listen to the community and listen to their advice and their information and their due diligence on the information. So I hope we've learnt from the past part of the district plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chung.
Great, thanks. I'd like to reiterate pretty much what Councillor Calvert says. However, I do think that the commissioners are in a unique position where they actually have the opportunity to listen to both sides and all speakers, whereas I find that when people come to us, we generally only hear one side of it. We don't hear the other side of things. And so I think that we don't give enough credence to commissioners, because we're not sitting there listening to these submissions from both sides all the time. So I think that I actually put more confidence in what they say than just listening to one side. Thank you.
That's the end of that. So Councillor Matthews has the right of reply.
Yes, I'm so glad I have the right of reply. I guess I actually agree with many of the comments that have been made about environmental protection and how important it is, and that I was not intending to have a conversation about the votes that we've already taken. I hope that we have learned something, including, I think, commissioners, the wider commissioner community who have learned something from the process of the Wellington District Plan. In all things, I think it's good if we can take the win or the loss that we have around the table and move on with our lives, and I certainly have. And I guess just to sort of say that I think the post-truth comment was unhelpful and unconstructive. There was nothing I said that was incorrect, and I am entitled to express my view as a councillor, but we are all on the same page that we support this extension. So I hope you vote for it. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. On that basis, can we all vote? Ben, we're just waiting for you. Great, thank you very much. It's passed. And now we move on to the decision register update and incoming reports, which Liam is going to introduce.
Take it as read, councillors. Just noting that if you've got any questions of particular detail, we can deal with that through Q&As next time, but happy to answer any.
No questions? Fantastic. In that case, is there any mover for the motion? Councillor Panowitz, and seconded by Councillor Free. Would either of you like to speak? No? In that case, we will. Is there any debate? No. In that case, do you want to make a reply to the lack of debate? No. Now put the motion. Thank you. Where's my character again? So I can get it. Okay. And that's it. Okay, now if you could join me with the... Great, that's carried. Join me in the karakia, please.
Una here,
una here.
Wā tia te tina nā te wairoa. Kia wā tia.
Thank you.